GPA. Now, GPA is not considered to be the most important on our list, but it can be the most important because it's the one that will often be used as a cutoff. So we simply will say, your GPA is not high enough, we're not taking you. And some programs will set their GPA really high, 3.7, 3.8, because they can, because they're getting, 400 applications, and of those, 100 will be a 3.8 or above. Well, they can simply cut off those below, and they still have a wonderful sample to choose from, especially if they're only going to choose 4 or 5. Now, if they were to choose, 40 or 50, that would be a different story, right? Then you have to have a lower cutoff. But usually the only programs that let in large numbers are typically the PsyD programs because they're designed differently. But to do research, it's harder to do that. Some of it within the master's program, some of the master's programs may let in more people. But that means there's less one-to-one work with faculty at those cases. It's a little bit more like a medical model of teaching, where you'll have large groups of cohorts that will go out and do things rather than closer knit. More of the graduate programs that we're talking about here, both the doctoral programs in psychology as well as the master's programs, will have slightly smaller groups of people. But again, the master's programs are more likely to have larger ones as well as the PsyD programs. So that changes the GPA. Where do I use that cutoff? Typically, what we're looking at in most of the master's programs, greater than a 3.0. The mean is about a 3.3 for master's programs, and the mean in psychology, since it's the most common of the undergraduate degrees that go into each one of these fields, is a 3.4. Okay, for a doctoral degree, typically above a 3.4. For the higher ranked institutions, and you've already heard about my thoughts about higher ranked institutions, it's greater than a 3.7. Now, remember, schools love to say, oh, our average GPA is this, and the higher that it is, the more prestigious they talk about themselves being. So when they say it's not that important, it's really important for them. It really is. Where it's not important is after they've done the cut. Then whether you're a 3.7 versus a 3.8, that doesn't play as big of a role because the other things now play a bigger role. So going back to the doctoral degree, 3.4, above a 3.4 is typical. 3.5 is about your mean. And in psychology, it's about a 3.65 GPA, okay? If you're not majoring in in psychology, biology, health sciences, and statistics are really good majors or minors. And this is important to consider because you want to say, well, what's the best for me? I had someone come again asking me for a letter. There's someone I had worked with for quite a while, and I knew what their major was. I knew it was psychology, but I didn't know their minor. And their minor was in theater arts. I love the theater. It's great. It's one of my favorite things. I have siblings who've majored in theater, but it's not a good minor for this. It doesn't mean it couldn't be helpful. And in fact, there are some things that you'll learn in acting school that can actually be helpful in therapy. But as a general rule, getting into graduate school, it's not generally reviewed or viewed as a really great one. Usually the biological sciences, any of the health sciences, and anything to do with research or statistics will help you. Data science, great one. The reason is most of these programs are interested in your having a good background and being able to understand a wide variety of things about humans and a wide variety of things about statistics, okay? Because and especially the more research oriented you go into, if it's a program that has a lot of research to it, statistics become a great minor. Data science becomes a great minor because most people who go into these fields go into it to do therapy. And that's probably true for most of you who decide on a master's program. Most of the master's programs, you're going to be doing therapy. You might do assessment in some cases, but usually not heavy-duty research. Doctoral programs, PhD programs, mainly you're going to do a lot of research. So if you already bring those skills with you, that's great. Biology is great because you understand some of the biological underpinnings of behavior in general, and it makes it easy to then understand the combination of the biology with psychology because those are so intertwined. So that becomes a really good one. Also, the fact is, typically things like biology and statistics are tough classes. So if you've gotten a good GPA in those, it's viewed more positively than if you've got a good GPA in theater. Again, I don't want to, make theater seem like it's easy or that it's not important. It's just when you're going in this direction, it's not the most helpful for you. Do it if you enjoy it, because I think you ought to do something that you enjoy and that's fun. But if you're needing to bolster that resume, you're willing to bolster your transcript, the best way to do it is to add either a double major or a minor in one of these fields that's really strong. Health sciences, anthropology could fit in here too. Usually sociology, not so much, simply because sociology has a close relationship with psychology, and it's almost like you're doubling up on the same thing. Doesn't hurt, but may not help to the same degree that some of these others may help. So be thinking about those and talk about your options with your advisor at school. And again, the earlier you can decide this, the better it is. And remember that GPA, the reason that this is important for GPA, better GPA on something really difficult is really good, and a not as great GPA, but on something super difficult, sometimes it doesn't hurt you. Like I was originally a zoology major, like I mentioned, and that really helped me a whole lot because I got some not wonderful grades in some of my biology and organic chemistry classes. I really had to struggle early on in my career before I changed my major to psychology. But the fact that I had those and that they weren't the biology that people took if you were a psychology major, an English major, or anything else like that. They were a different level of biology, a higher level of biology that you took if you were a biology or chemistry or biochemistry major or those kinds of things. And so they were valued more highly. So even though the grade was not an A, it made a big difference because it was a much more difficult class. So you can really vary these things, and you can talk to those issues if you've been able to get the right double majors and minors. Let's assume that you don't major in psychology. You'd still need psychology classes for almost all of these majors that we're talking about. The difference may be if you go into psychiatry, you could have no psychology whatsoever and all biology and chemistry, and they'll accept you into a medical school. But for all the others, counseling, marriage and family, they expect that you're going to have a fair amount of psychology. Sometimes you can substitute sociology or anthropology, but typically they're going to want you to have psychology classes. And this is the order of the most important psychology classes. These are not all of them. These are just some of them. So I put them down here, and the higher the grades you can get in these, the better it is. So if you have A's in all of these, but you have a few scattered grades that aren't as good, you can really point to, yes, but my GPA in these areas is 3.9 or whatever it happens to be. So research methods and statistics, by far the two most important, followed by psychopathology. It may be called abnormal psychology in your university, social psychology, developmental psychology, personality, and then something in the physiological, biopsychology, neuropsychology realm, the brain, anything that affects the brain and brain functioning, that kind of stuff. I teach a popular course in psychopharmacology, which spends a lot of time on neurobiology, in addition to then talking about medications and drugs. So that's another one that kind of fits here too. It goes along with the idea of a good minor is biology minor.